13% derivation fund comes from federal revenue to oil producing communities through state governments as stipulated in the Constitution. Governor Wike of Rivers State in a recent statement had challenged Niger Delta governors to account for the backlog of 13% derivation fund paid by President Buhari, whose responsibility is it to demand accountability in this case. As a matter of duty, were the governors meant to declare receipt of the funds? I am Blessing Aichi. This is Report on ITV.
It's published every month. I will be surprised if they didn't publish it. That's the transparency starts from the federal government, the allocation committee or the authority that gave the money. Because the standard practice when Obasanjo was president and for a very long time, up to Jonathan, monthly allocations are published in at least 3 national dailies. Before it was unpublished, people started complaining that they don't know what governors get. They don't know what council chairmen get. From complaints from members of the public, they then became a standard practice. Although it's not in the constitution, it was an administrative decision. Okay, to stop this controversy as to what goes to states and local government, at the end of every federal allocation committee, it will be published in at least 3 national dailies. So if this one was particularly was not published, then I would be surprised. That means that the issue of transparency started for the federal government that released the money. If you release money that is meant for members of the public, it has to be published like that's the Senate. I don't know what I've not been following since APC Buhari government, but under the PDP Obasanjo to Jonathan, of course, under Obasanjo was a council chairman. All our allocations were published. I was chief of staff under Governor Osumbo. Yaradua was president. All allocations were published. So, but now I don't know. I cannot say whether APC is publishing the allocations, but the one that I know, introduced by Obasanjo, the allocations were published. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was the Minister of Finance. I think she insisted that they should be publishing the allocation, and that they've been doing that. So if they didn't, I even wrote an article on it. The controversy is unnecessary because it's not wicked I should be telling Nigerians what states got. When you release the money, you publish it. Do you understand? Now, if it was not published and the state governors got the money, you can no longer be accusing them of fraud because they are not used to monthly disclosure. They have not been disclosing to the people what they get every month. Since I still call the conference to tell you what they get every month. No government is doing that in Nigeria. So you cannot now accuse him that, oh, why did you tell us? Has he been disclosing to you what he gets on a monthly basis as allocation? 30% derivation is an allocation meant for oil producing state. It's not a special fund. It's a normal statutory allocation, but it is 13% because it was, arranged for the 11 oil producing states in Nigeria. So if we are going to accuse any person of transparency, it is the federal government that should be accused. When you release the money, you ought to have published it. And, you can now prove whether they are still sustaining that practice of monthly publications.
Well, I think it's all political. 13% derivation given to these oil-producing states in Nigeria is something that is knowledgeable to everybody. I remember when I was in the office as Commissioner for Local Government Chieftaincy Affairs, whenever there is a federal government allocation committee, when they met, so all money going to various states will be published on the national daily, and every one of us will see it. So it's not a hidden agenda by any government. If this present government of Buhari is not doing that, that means the federal government is to be blamed, while the people are not aware of what is supposed to come to them. For Wike measuring it, for me, is the news that is out there. It's not secret. It's not something that we should be looking for. So I believe it's political. He just wanted to use to score a cheap political point. And that is the reason you have to mention it that some state government receive 13% derivation fund and no one is in the know. All of us are in the know if you follow what is happening in the federal allocation committees. And this very money that Wike is talking about is an arrears that is accrued to the states. Federal government, in a way, kept this money back ever since then, either if it is deliberate or not. But there was a probe into that very account. And when the probe came up, and they discovered that there was an area that was due to states. So these are money that were furnished to the state. And for the state, if you want to know all the allocation that is accrued to Edo State, you go to the federal mobilization and you will see it in their website. So it's not a big thing for Wike to say, this is due to this is due to this, and the citizens are not aware. Some of us are aware that 13% is something that comes monthly to the states.
I want to commend the effort of Governor Wike of Rivers State for having the audacity and the tenacity to come up at this time to speak the truth to the people. It is very sardonic that we have a governor who is presumably educated. We have a governor who is being referred to as a technocrat. Yes, it is not the duty of the people to coerce the government to do the needful. We expected the governor to have used the 13% derivation, oil derivation, and every other funds that have come to Edo State to use it judiciously for the people. It's saddened my heart that you go around Edo State, you don't see any meaningful infrastructural development. But when you want to refer to the River State, they will tell you that the allocations of the River State is quite different from that of the Edo State. But the little we get as a state, has the governor be able to manage it, use it judiciously for the people? Obviously no. If not that the Wike came up with this, open up the secrets, we would have known that such monies come to the Edo State, treasury. The atrocity, so to say, of the governors is more and worse than that of the federal government. The governors we have in Nigeria, majority of them have been able to manipulate the people to the extent that they cannot demand for accountability from them. The Freedom of Information Act that would have served as a means of getting information, of demanding for accountability, of demanding for good governance from the people. Over time, the state governors have connived in a way that they refuse to domesticate the Freedom of Information Act in their various states. And as such, the people cannot demand accountability as it were by writing to the state governments to give account of how such monies have been spent. But I want to assure you that we will continue to demand an explanation from Edo State governor and every other governor who received the 13% derivation and every other money, to give account of what these monies have been spent for. Because it is not their money, it is our money, it is our resources, that they only hold it in trust, not to use it the way they feel they like. It's our money, they must use it for us.
The question on the 30% oil derivation matter has become like a further eye-opener with regards the Nigerian system and how governance run. There are certain aspects of governance that we as ordinary people can question. I wouldn't necessarily say for a fact that 100% that governors or people in this state should be asked to disclose how much money was paid to them. I don't think that is the issue per se. But now, looking at where things are and how these informations came out, I think that would be the only questions on everybody's lips. Because if the governors has opened up from the beginning and say as sensitive as the issue of 30% oil derivation matter was, and for example in Edo State where I'm standing now, and the governor of the state comes up with how much he has preached that he's a man of accountability and integrity, which I don't doubt he is, and this kind of issue that is milky should not be attached to his name. In the sense that you cannot expect me to come from Orion local government, Ugboko ward in particular, an oil producing local government in Edo, and in Orion has the highest oil producing capacity in Edo State to the national contribution of the production of crude oil. And this 30% oil derivation, we've not felt it in our local government at all. for all these years, for over 20 years, for President Buhari to agree to pay this money. It means that he paid those money because he wants the governors to use this money to develop those people and also send people on scholarship, on programs, bring infrastructure to those areas, good roads and healthcare facilities. No matter how much money you take from that to spend in that area, perhaps across those states, I don't think anybody will question it or ask the governor how you've spent the money.
Ideally, there shouldn't have been any issue of announcing if these monies were paid, at the beginning. But what happened was that the federal government was over-deducting. And so some states now went to do an investigation and confronted the federal government with a report that you have over-collected our money, pay us back. So the federal government agreed and approved 1 trillion naira for all the state governments that are entitled to 13% derivation. But some people don't understand that different states are entitled to different amounts of the 13%. 13% derivation is 13% of the crude oil produced in your own state, and the different states have different volumes of oil production. So by the time the approval was done, different states now started getting their own, and the money is not paid en bloc at once. It's broken down into 20 tranches and paid over 5 years. So far, 2.1 billion naira has come in on account of that derivation.
For every allocation from the federal revenue, it is the duty of the federal government to disclose what has been paid out. This is the view of respondents. They argue that in the case where accountability challenge has been thrown, it is not out of place for governors who have received 13% derivation backlog to make account of its use to the people. I am Blessing A.J.